What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. This is my full card breakdown and prediction video for UFC 298. We got Alexander Volkanovski going against Ilia Topuria.
I need all the wins, yeah. Harder than all that is. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out.
And we are back for another full card breakdown and prediction video this week, breaking down a very good card in UFC 298 pay-per-view card here. We are finally out of the Apex, and we have some bangers on this card. I'm looking forward to the main event, featherweight title fight, Volkanovski Topuria. Looking forward to the co-main event. If Paulo Costa does show up, should be a very fun fight. Ian Machado, Gary, Jeff Neal finally going to fight there. We got Merab Dvalishvili, Henry Cejudo on the card, and then also the main card opener is Anthony Hernandez going against Roman Kopilov, my personal favorite fight on the card. That fight's going to be an absolute banger. So really looking forward to this card. Really looking forward to breaking it down. Before we do so, if you guys can please do me a couple favors, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. It is always much appreciated. This video is brought to you by Prize Picks. Check out Prize Picks. Use promo code DFSBTN. You'll get yourself a 100% deposit match up to $100 there. And I'll also be getting out my Prize Picks content, Prize Picks video later in the week, so be on the lookout for that. And then also, if you guys want to support me more, or if you do want extra content, be sure to check out dfsbythenumbers.com. The most popular option is that $10 MMA betting a month. With that, you get my stats, first notice on all bets, all the articles throughout the week. I do a final betting article on Friday, breaking down all my track bets, giving my prelim, main card, and Hail Mary parlay, my full card best bet article where I break down the entire card, give my prediction, round, method, and then best bet for each and every fight on the card, and then just a lot more content behind the scenes as well. And again, it is the best way to support me there. Check it out, dfsbythenumbers.com. And lastly, since this is a pay-per-view card, going to be bringing back the Significant Strike contest. To enter the contest, leave a like, make sure you are subscribed, and then also comment down how many Significant Strikes you think that Volkanovski and Topuria are going to combine for. $25 the first. If it's a tie, the tiebreaker does go to the person that commented first. And since this is kind of a tough one, I think you can go a couple different ways with this one. If you get it on the dot this week, I'll double up the prize money to $50. So $25 the first, but if you hit it on the dot, Significant Strikes, I will double it to 50. All right, guys, I say we get right into it. We have 12 fights to talk about. We're going to start with the prelim opener, and we got Miranda Maverick going against Andrea Lee. Got Miranda Maverick, 26 years old, 5'3", with a 65.5-inch reach, 12-5 and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Andrea Lee, 35 years old, 5'6", with a 69.5-inch reach, 12-8 and 2-3 in her last 5 fights. We will take a look at the odds. We have Miranda Maverick opening up a -170 favorite. She's currently -180. And then Andrea Lee opening up a +145 underdog, and she is currently +155. So this matchup is a little tricky, but at the same time, not really. I do like Maverick here to win this fight. The problem is, Andrea Lee, I think, is an extremely underrated fighter. I feel like a lot of her fights are always very close. A lot of her fights do go to decision. And you take a look at her last 3 losses, very good fighters. Natalia Silva lost to her by decision. Macy Barber, that was a close fight. Like you could have scored that fight for Andrea Lee. And then she had another close-ish fight against Viviane Araújo, where she actually dropped Araújo in the first round and kind of lost that second and third there. But yeah, Andrea Lee is just a fighter that I always think has been really underrated. And yeah, maybe this fight does play out close, but the reason I do like Maverick here is a couple reasons. The first one is she's going to be 9 years younger than Andrea Lee. I think that's huge here. On top of that, I think she's going to be, much more physically strong than Andrea Lee. And one thing Andrea Lee does struggle with is the takedown defense. Andrea Lee's takedown defense is 54%. And I was going back and watching a lot of her, fights, as of late, and taken down twice by Macy Barber, taken down 3 times by Viviane Araújo, taken down by Calvillo, taken down by Lauren Murphy, Joanne Wood. I mean, the list goes on, and she gets taken down by everybody. But the one that was most concerning to me was that Roxanne Modafferi fight, which was a couple years ago, but still, Roxanne Modafferi was like 38 at the time, and Roxanne Modafferi was able to take down Andrea Lee on multiple different occasions, was able to control her on the mat, and she lost a decision to, again, 38-year-old Roxanne Modafferi. So I feel like Maverick is going to get this fight down to the mat. I feel like she's going to be able to control this fight. But yeah, at the end of the day, it could play out close. I like the striking of Lee. I just think Maverick's physicality is going to be a little bit too much here. I think she gets the fight down on the mat and grinds out a decision there. So give me Maverick. This line's coming down by the looks of it, but I'm probably not touching this one. But Maverick by decision is the pick. Moving on, we got kind of a weird one here. We got Obon Elliott going against Val Woodburn. We got Obon Elliott, 26 years old, 6 foot with a 72-inch reach, 9-2. And 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Val Woodburn, 30 years old, 5'8", 7-1, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Obon Elliott opened up -255, currently -300. Val Woodburn opening up +220, currently +250. And who's betting Obon Elliott at -300? I mean, this is a fight where the problem is it's on the Val Woodburn side. We know nothing about Val Woodburn. I went and watched a lot of his fights outside the UFC. Doesn't have the best level of competition outside of Bo Nickel, where Bo Nickel did go out there and knock him out in like 30 seconds, but you can't take anything from that fight. Val Woodburn is a guy that he's very physically strong. He hits like an absolute truck, but it just hasn't been tested much. In theory, we kind of thought that maybe Bo Nickel would go out there and, test Val Woodburn's grappling, and I would have liked to see that in terms of this fight, because I think that's exactly what Obon Elliott's going to do. But no, Bo Nickel went out there and knocked him out fairly easily. So I haven't really seen anybody, take him down and have success taking him down, and that's kind of where Elliott is going to go out there and try to do. Elliott, I believe, is training at the same gym as Jack Shore, and yeah, I like Elliott. He's a solid fighter, got a Contender Series win by decision against a dangerous guy. But I mean, that fight was like seconds away from being stopped. He took on that Kalik Brito guy. Yeah, Brito was like seconds away from stopping the fight. The ref was like, dude, fight back or I'm going to stop the fight. Just barely squeaked by, ended up winning a decision. But yeah, it wasn't the best look. I have concerns about the durability of Elliott. He's been finished in both of his losses. Almost got finished on the Contender Series. So yeah, it's just a fight where there's a ton of unknowns where I don't want to lay anywhere near -300. But yeah, he's good. He's a good striker. I like his combinations. I like his volume. Little hittable, but I like the wrestling, the grappling, the cardio solid as well. So yeah, in theory, he should probably go out there, get this fight down to the mat, and maybe grind out a decision or maybe even get a late finish here. So I'm going to take Obon Elliott to win this fight. I'll take him to win this fight. I'm going to say like a 3rd round submission for Obon Elliott here. I think he wears out Val Woodburn, gets him tired, and eventually finishes him in the 3rd round. But, Val Woodburn, for what it's worth, he does look like he hits pretty hard, and that's kind of where Elliott struggled. But give me Elliott sub 3. Moving on, we got an absolute banger. We got Danny Barlo going against Josh Quinlan. We will start with Danny Barlo, who is 28 years old, 6'2", with an 80-inch reach. He is 7-0 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. We got Josh Quinlan, who is 31 years old, 6 foot with a 72-inch reach, 6-1 and 3-1, and 1 no contest in his last 5 fights. So I believe, yeah. So Josh Quinlan is stepping in here on short notice. Danny Barlo was supposed to fight Yusaku Kinoshita. Kinoshita pulls out, and in steps Josh Quinlan here. So, yeah, I remember Danny Barlo from the Contender Series. His nickname is Left Hand to God, and if you watch any of his fights, I mean, that's kind of why that's his nickname. This guy has a left hand that just puts guys out cold, and this guy hits like an absolute truck. I believe he has finished the majority of his wins. Yeah, 71% finish rate, 57% of those coming by knockout. This guy hits like an absolute truck. 80-inch reach for Danny Barlo. I mean, that's not something to just gloss over there. 80-inch reach at the welterweight division. He's going to have an 8-inch reach advantage here. And what I think is very interesting about that is the fact that, what did Josh Quinlan struggle with his last fight? He struggled against Trey Waters, right? Trey Waters had a 78-inch reach, and he was just getting pieced up the entire time. And I think in terms of power between Trey Waters and Danny Barlo is a huge difference. I think Danny Barlo hits so much harder than Trey Waters. So, yeah, Barlo should be able to connect. He should be able to connect very hard. And although Quinlan I don't think he's ever been knocked. Yeah, he's never been knocked out. I think it happens here. I think Danny Barlo lands a big shot and puts this guy out. I think it's early as well. That 8-inch reach advantage, the power that he brings to the table with how hittable Josh Quinlan is, I think Danny Barlo knocks out Josh Quinlan in the very first round here. All right, moving on. We have Jang Mingyong going against Brenson Rivero. We got Jang, who's 25 years old, 6'2", with a 75-inch reach, 16-6 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Brenson Rivero, 27 years old, 6'3", with an 81-inch reach, 15-5 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Jang Mingyong opened up -115, currently -125. Brenson Rivero opened up -105, currently +105. Nobody should be favored here. I mean, this is a fight where it's exciting. Like, this is an exciting fight. I think the matchmakers did a great job in terms of this should be fun to watch, but, you know, there's so many red flags, so many question marks about both these guys. We got Jang Mingyong, who's only 25 years old. He fought on Road to UFC a couple years ago. He's taken like a 2-year layoff. And he hasn't really fought anybody. He hasn't fought great competition at all. 22 fights, but the majority of those fights are against like the bottom of the bottom of the bottom of the barrel. And he's going out there and getting finished a lot. Like, Jang Mingyong has been finished 5 times by some of these low level guys. With that said, though, you know, when he was getting finished, it was back when he was, 17, 18, 19 years old, so a long time ago, including a knockout loss to Ashgar Mozarov, which is not a great look. But yeah, he was like 18, 19 at the time. And he hasn't lost in a while. I think it's been about 6 years since this guy has lost a fight. But still, has not fought the best competition, has not been tested at all, did not fight on the Contender Series like Rivero did. And I don't know, we just don't know a ton about him. He's a fun fighter, though. I mean, I was watching his Road to UFC fight, and he went out there, and I felt bad for the dude. I think the dude's name was like Tokus or something. I mean, I felt bad for that guy because Jang Mingyong went out there and he knocked him out brutally. And then it was the follow-up shots, though. Like, I don't know what the ref was doing. He landed like 3 or 4 of the nastiest follow-up shots you'd ever see. Just a brutal knockout, right? But yeah, he's very hittable. The ground game is a question mark. The cardio is a question mark. Everything's a question mark about this guy. What's he been doing for the last 2 years? It does look like he's doing a lot of work at the PI in Vegas. I saw him doing a lot of work with a bunch of guys, actually. Chris Curtis, Magomed Ankalaev, Sean Strickland, etc., etc. Looks like he was doing some work at Extreme Couture as well, so I'm not sure if he's, you know, doing this camp at Extreme Couture or if he was just, you know, hanging out there for a little bit, but that was on his Instagram there. So yeah, maybe he got better, and that's kind of what you expect out of these young guys, right? He was, last time he fought, he was probably 23, 25 now, so we could see a new version of Jang Mingyong. On top of that, this guy is huge. Like, this guy is ginormous, because I saw a picture of him next to Magomed Ankalaev, and on paper it says that Jang Mingyong is 6'2", and he was standing next to Magomed Ankalaev, who on paper is 6'3". No, Jang Mingyong was towering over Magomed Ankalaev. So Jang Mingyong is probably like 6'5". This guy is a giant in there. On the flip side, you got Brenson Rivero. More red flags, man. I picked against him on the Contender Series, and here's why. He's extremely hittable. He's all offense, no defense. He is the definition of submission over position. Watch any one of his fights. He is getting reversed. He's losing position. He's ending up on bottom. He doesn't look great off of bottom. I don't like the cardio. I mean, there's not a ton to like about this guy other than that offense that he does bring to the table is vicious. He is violent. He does hit hard. And just like Jang Mingyong on Road to UFC, this guy Rivero went out there and just destroyed his opponent on the Contender Series with the first round knockout. I don't know. I mean, I feel like nobody should be favored here. I feel like nobody should have any confidence in anything in this fight, but I will take the dog here in Brenson Rivero just because this guy is going to have a pretty significant reach, 6-inch reach advantage. He hits very, very hard. He's very long. He's very rangy. And Jang Mingyong is there to be hit. He eats punches with his face. And Jang Mingyong has been finished by knockout 3 times. So give me Brenson Rivero to win this fight by first-round knockout. Fun fight. Just a fight that I'm not really sure why it's on a pay-per-view card here. Moving on, we got Rinya Nakamura going against Carlos Vera. We got Rinya Nakamura, 28 years old, 5'7", with a 68-inch reach, 8-0, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Carlos Vera, 36 years old, 5'6", with a 69.5-inch reach, 11-3, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Biggest favorite on the card here, Nakamura, opened up -700, currently -1,000. Carlos Vera opened up +500, currently +700. Yeah, I don't think this fight should have been sanctioned. When I saw this fight was announced, I was like, dude, we're going to have, like, the biggest favorite in UFC history. Like, why is this fight happening? You got Carlos Vera fought on The Ultimate Fighter, lost a decision to Brackettone, I believe. Watched that fight, and yeah, there were some red flags. He was getting taken down easily. He gives up his back a lot. He's been submitted twice. Yeah, there's a lot of red flags on Carlos Vera. He's 36 years old, making his debut. I don't think he's the best striker. He goes for a lot. He rolls for a lot of ankles and legs, and you just can't do that at this level, especially against a guy here in Nakamura who can punch your face in. So, yeah, this is a fight that I don't think should be sanctioned, and I do think that Vera is stepping in here on somewhat short notice, because there's no way this was the original matchup, and yeah, it wasn't. So Renya Nakamura was supposed to fight Brady Hiestand. I thought Nakamura was going to destroy Brady Hiestand, but in steps Carlos Vera, and yeah, it's a terrible matchup for him. It's a horrible matchup for him. Carlos Vera, no takedown defense, gives up his back multiple times a fight. Yeah, Renya is going to take him down easy. He's going to take him down easy. He's going to take his back, and he's going to either pound him out or sub him here within the first couple rounds. So, yeah, give me Renya Nakamura here. Not a hot take. He's minus 1,000, but, you know, I think he passes this test, and that is Carlos Vera. So, give me Renya Nakamura. I'll say first round submission. Moving on, we got a heavyweight fight. Marcos Rogério de Lima going against Justin Tafa. We got de Lima, 38 years old, 6'1" with a 75-inch reach, 21-9-1. And 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Justin Tafa, 30 years old, 6 foot with a 74-inch reach, 7-3 and 3-1 no contest in his last 5 fights. We have de Lima opening up minus 190, currently minus 140. Justin Tafa opening up plus 165, currently plus 120. So, yeah, it's a heavyweight fight, guys. I mean, either of these guys are live to knock the other guy out. With that said, though, de Lima, believe it or not, this guy is super tough in terms of, you know, the durability when absorbing punches, right? In terms of the submission game, he's been subbed a lot. He's a black belt, but he's been subbed a lot. But no, he's tough, durable, and only 2 times has Marcos Rogério de Lima been knocked out, and one of those times was his last fight against Derek Lewis. Whereas Justin Tafa, this guy's a tough guy as well. In 10 fights, he has been knocked out once, and that was against, believe it or not, Yorgan de Castro. Not a great look. But yeah, both these guys have a ton of power for the heavyweight division. And if these guys swing and bang, yeah, one guy is going down. The reason I ever so slightly lean to de Lima, and you can't have much confidence in this guy, is because he has more ways to win. It's simple as that. De Lima, he is a black belt in BJJ. He has been submitted a lot, but he's also submitted multiple people in the UFC. He's not a bad wrestler. We saw him go out there and take down Waldo Cortez Acosta multiple times across 15 minutes. We saw him go out there and submit Andrea Arlovski not too long ago. We saw him go out there and wrestle 15 minutes to a decision against Maurice Green. So it's definitely on the table that Marcos Rogério de Lima can go out there and get fights down to the mat. And I just have a strong suspicion, and we haven't seen Justin Tafa on his back at all in the UFC, and quite frankly, nobody's really tried to take him down. But my suspicion here is if de Lima gets on top of Tafa, it's going to be very, very bad news for Tafa there. Marcos Rogério de Lima, I think, is the better grappler. I think is the better wrestler. I think has more ways to win. But at the end of the day, like, Tafa could land a big shot. But I'm going to say de Lima does get this fight down to the mat. And I'm going to say he finds a sub in the first round here. If this fight does get extended, I don't trust either guy. But at the very least, like I said, we have seen de Lima go out there and fight into a second and third round like he did against Waldo Acosta, like he did against Maurice Green. But sometimes he does fall off a cliff in the second and third as well. So kind of inconsistent there. But yeah, give me de Lima. First round sub. I don't think this fight is going to last long one way or another, but give me the guy that I think has more ways to win. Moving on to the feature prelim, we got Amanda Lemos going against Mackenzie Dern. We got Amanda Lemos, 36 years old, 5'4", with a 65-inch reach, 13-3-1 and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Mackenzie Dern, 30 years old, 5'4", with a 63-inch reach, 13-4 and 2-3 in her last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. And we have very interesting line movement. So, believe it or not, Amanda Lemos opened up minus 270. And Mackenzie Dern opened up plus 230. This line has just completely crashed down. I'll say it right off the bat. I am staying so far away from this fight. Like, this is a fight where I just don't trust either of these fighters. It's a weird fight because Mackenzie Dern is a fighter that I've never been the highest on in the world, but she's a fighter that looked like she was turning a corner. She was making improvements in her striking, And it was that performance against Angela Hill. And I know it's Angela Hill who is, about 50-50 in the UFC, but Angela Hill's she's no slouch, right? She's been in there with some of the best fighters. She's no slouch. And Mackenzie Dern went out there in that 5-round fight and just beat the brakes off of Angela Hill. It was so impressive to me. She 49-44 on a judge's scorecard, 49-43 on a judge's scorecard. Like, she beat the brakes off of Angela Hill. The striking looked good. She knocked down Angela Hill. The wrestling looked good. She took her down 3 times. It was the career best performance of Mackenzie Dern, and a lot of people thought, hey, she's finally turning a corner. 30 years old, putting in the work, working on the wrestling, the striking. She's finally turning a corner. And then she goes out there against Jessica Andrade as a big favorite. Like, she was minus 200 to minus 220, 230. And she went out there and looked horrible. I mean, it was a terrible performance. She got dropped 4 times by Jessica Andrade, the same Jessica Andrade who got finished in her last 3 losses, who everybody, including me, thought, she was on her way out. And yeah, Jessica Andrade destroyed her. So it's like, what the heck happened, Mackenzie Dern? And now she's going against Lemos, who I'm not high on as well. Like, Lemos is a 36-year-old strawweight who I don't think has great cardio, who I don't think has great takedown defense, who I think has really good striking. But yeah, Amanda Lemos, could she knock out Dern? I guess so, but I just feel at some point this fight might hit the ground, and if it does, we've seen Lemos tapped out. We've seen Lemos put in some bad spots, and you don't want to go down on the mat with Mackenzie Dern. So I feel like if Lemos is able to stuff the takedowns here, she should be the better striker. She should land the bigger shots, potentially win a decision, maybe knock out Dern. But it really could only take one takedown here for Mackenzie Dern to change this fight and, quite frankly, finish this fight. Like, if she takes down Amanda Lemos here, could be in any round, but especially like the second or third, she could sub Lemos here. So, I don't want to pick either fighter, to be honest. I really don't. I'm not going to be touching this fight. It's a fun fight, but it's just a fight that's kind of sketching me out. I'm going to take Dern here as a dog. As far as a pick goes, I'll say she subs Lemos, but I can't trust either of these fighters. Dern looked amazing against Hill, looked awful against Andrade. I think, a lot of people are going to be on Lemos this week for that reason, because Dern just looks so bad. On the flip side, you got Lemos, who's 36, just got embarrassed in that title fight. Like, where's her motivation? That was probably one of the most embarrassing title performances I've ever seen in my life against Zhang Weili. So, yeah, probably a good reason this line has crashed down. I won't be betting on it, but I'll pick Dern by submission. All right, let's move on. We have the main card opener, my favorite fight on the card. I'm sure a lot of your favorite fights on the card. We got Anthony Fluffy Hernandez going against Roman Kopilov. We have Hernandez, 30 years old, 6 foot, with a 75-inch reach, 11-2, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Roman Kopilov, he is 32 years old, 6 foot, with a 75-inch reach, 12-2, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. And it was supposed to be Anthony Hernandez going against Ikram Aliskerov. Aliskerov did pull out. In steps Roman Kopilov. This fight is freaking awesome, guys. So we have a striker versus grappler matchup here, where on the feet, Roman Kopilov's an incredible striker. This is a guy who I am starting to really, get behind, really believe in. People will always bring up the Carl Roberson fight, which I will be bringing up as well, but they'll bring up the Roberson fight. Oh, we got subbed by Roberson, he sucks. Oh, we got 10-8'd by Albert Duraev, he sucks. Since then, man, I mean, this guy has turned it up. He took a big layoff between the Roberson fight and that Duraev fight, and he went out there against Alessio Di Chirico, looked career best there. Career best performance, beat the brakes off of Di Chirico, who's next level tough, knocked him out in the 3rd round. Great performance. He went out there against Punahele Soriano. Next level tough guy in Punahele Soriano. Career best performance. Beat the brakes off of him, mixed up the body, got him tired, broke him in the 2nd round. And then after that, career best performance against Claudio Rivero. It just keeps getting better and better. He went out there, he close 1st round, ate some shots, showed some toughness, and then in the 2nd round just landed the nastiest head kick of the year against Claudio Rivero. It was kind of hard to watch. I felt bad for Claudio Rivero, but he landed a nasty head kick, floored him. Great performance, great knockout. And then he fights Josh Fremd, and kind of like the Punahele-Soriano fight. Same thing, broke this guy down, beat him up to the body, and knocked him out to the body. Roman Kopilov's legit. This guy's no joke. But with all that said, he's going against Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, which, in my opinion, is just a terrible matchup for him. Fluffy Hernandez is a machine. This is a guy that's averaging almost 7 takedowns per 15 minutes. Like, that's incredible. We're going to talk about Merab Dvalishvili on this card. He's averaging like a slightly more takedowns than Merab Dvalishvili. Dvalishvili 6.55. And then we have Fluffy Hernandez 6.79. Just think about that. This guy's wrestling's very good. This guy's cardio is very good. The pressure, the submission attempts. This guy submits a lot of people. Submitted Marc-Andre Barrio. Submitted Rodolfo Vieira. Submitted Jung Young Park. Knocked out Edmund Shabazian in his last fight. This guy just sets a pace that nobody can keep up with, especially not Shabazian. Not even Marc-Andre Barrio, who typically has great cardio. So yeah, he breaks you down and he finishes you as the fight goes on. Roman Kopilov, I don't trust the cardio, especially on short notice. Roman Kopilov on paper has a 92% takedown defense, but against who? You know, Soriano, Josh Fremd, Albert Duraev, Carl Roberson. I mean, you know, that's none of them are Fluffy Hernandez, right? So when we have seen Kopilov taken down, which it doesn't happen often, when we have seen him taken down, there were 2 fights. The Duraev fight and the Roberson fight. Duraev 10-8'd this guy, and I think Duraev is not that great. 10-8'd Roman Kopilov. The fight should have been stopped on multiple different occasions. It was bad and is a terrible look. And getting submitted by Carl Roberson was a horrible look as well. Anytime we've seen this guy on the ground, it's just been a terrible look. And Fluffy Hernandez is going to get this fight down to the mat. And when he does, he's going to wear on you. He's going to look for the Anaconda. He's going to look for the Darce. He's going to attempt as many submission attempts as need be until he finally makes you tap, makes you wilt. And I kind of feel like that's what's going to happen here. Fluffy Hernandez needs to wrestle early and often. He cannot afford to eat a body shot. I mean, that's kind of what's hurt Fluffy Hernandez in the past. Both of his losses are due to body shots. Got hurt to the body bad against Marcus Perez, got subbed, club and sub there. Got hurt to the body bad against Kevin Holland. And something Roman Kopilov does do really well is attack the body, you know, with kicks, punches. And then also, Hernandez is super tough, but you can't eat a flush head kick and expect not to go down as well. So I expect Fluffy Hernandez to go out there, wrestle early and often, get the fight down to the mat, wear on Roman Kopilov, break him in the 2nd or 3rd round. Give me Anthony Hernandez to win this fight by 2nd round submission, and I think it's going to be an Anaconda choke for what it's. Let's see if I can predict the exact submission. I know he's going to try for it. Let's see if he gets it. All right, next we got, speaking of Merab, we got Merab Dvalishvili going against Henry Cejudo. We got Merab, 33 years old, 5'6", with a 68-inch reach, 16-4, and 4-1 or 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Henry Cejudo, 37 years old, 5'4", with a 67.5-inch reach, 16-3, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds. We have Merab Dvalishvili opening up as a -160 favorite. He is currently sitting at -180, and then Henry Cejudo opening at +140 is currently sitting as a +155 underdog. Yeah, fun fight here. Man, Merab Dvalishvili is a guy that, you know, his nickname is The Machine, right? And that could not be any more fitting. This guy went out there in his last fight against Petr Yan and just did, like, the unimaginable. Like there were video game type numbers, and I'm not even sure you can do this in a video game. He went out there against Petr Yan and attempted 49 takedowns. I've never seen anything like that in my life. How do you attempt 49 takedowns and not slow down for 25 minutes? Like, what is this guy made out of? I mean, it's phenomenal. 95% of the UFC fighters probably don't even attempt 49 takedowns in their entire career. He goes out there and does it in one single fight. I mean, it was ridiculous. Not only that, Merab attempts over 400 strikes in that fight. So not only is he attempting 49 takedowns, he's attempting over 400 strikes. I mean, it was an incredible performance. I mean, this guy, Merab, I think is going to be tough to beat. He's taken on Henry Cejudo, who is getting up there in age. He's 37 years old. He had that massive layoff right before that Aljamain Sterling fight. Close fight in the Sterling fight, but he just didn't look the same, right? And now it's another year's passed. He's now 37. And the thing about Merab is, you can stuff a lot of his takedowns, and I think Henry Cejudo will. But the thing about Merab is his offense is just so nonstop, whether it's the striking, the wrestling, that he doesn't let you throw any offense yourself. You know what I mean? Like against Petr Yan was not able to do anything just because the entire time he was having to defend takedowns. He was having shots coming his way. Like, you can't let off on any offense when you're trying to defend 50 takedowns. I mean, it just doesn't happen. So, Merab's offense is that defense, and it was an incredible performance. So, yeah, I think, Merab Dvalishvili is going to go out there and do what he does. He's going to try to take down Henry Cejudo. He's going to push him against the cage. If that doesn't work, he's going to try again. He's going to try it again and again and again, and he's not going to let Cejudo get off on any offense. Simple as that. I think it could look a little bit like the Jose Aldo fight. Jose Aldo, a guy who has the best takedown defense in the division, was able to stuff every single takedown of Merab, right? He was able to stuff, I think, 12 for 12 or 13 for 13, but Merab still won that fight. I think 30-27 on one judge's scorecard, 29-28 on the other two, and that was just because Jose Aldo was so worried about, the takedowns coming his way, and, Merab was also able to push Aldo against the cage, hold him there, and win some minutes there as well. So that's probably the case here. I think Merab Dvalishvili is going to attempt a lot of takedowns, get a couple, but should go to decision as well, and I think it's going to be Merab. I think Merab wins this fight by decision. I just don't like this fight for Cejudo, especially at 37 years old. If this fight was 4 or 5 years ago, absolutely. You take a look at Cejudo at these odds, just at 37 years old, against a guy in Merab who just looks unstoppable. How do you stop that? How do you stop this guy at this point? I don't know. But, yeah, I'm taking Merab here. I'm taking Merab by decision. Moving on, we got Ian Machado Gary going against Jeff Neal. We got Ian Machado Gary, 6'3", 26 years old, 74-inch reach, 13-0. And obviously 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Jeff Neal, 33 years old, 5'11", with a 75-inch reach, 15-5 and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds. We have Ian Gary is the favorite and opened up -240. He is currently sitting at -210. Jeff Neal opened up +205, currently sitting at +180. Yeah, kind of a close fight to call. Ian Gary, I think this guy is the real deal. I've always been high on this guy. We can just... we don't have to get into the whole... There's a lot of stuff going on with Ian Gary outside of fighting. Let's just say that. And yeah, hopefully this fight does happen. Ian Gary did pull out on fight week his last fight. But yeah, if this fight happens, it's kind of simple. I see why Gary's the favorite, right? He's going to be the guy that's probably winning the minutes here. I think he has really good striking. Great takedown defense. This fight's not hitting the mat. I think these guys are going to stand and strike for 15 minutes. I like the striking defense, the volume of Ian Gary. The only knock on Ian Gary has and always has been that striking defense, and it's a problem, and it doesn't look like he's really fixed that up a ton. 53% striking defense on paper, and there's been some sketchy moments with Gary. There was that Jordan Williams fight where I laid -250 or so on Ian Gary, and I was not feeling comfortable with that bet because Jordan Williams was piecing this guy up. Gary was all busted up, and he was probably losing the first round. And then there was 10 seconds left. Gary lands a big shot and knocks out Jordan Williams. But up until then, Williams was beating this guy. And then he was fighting Song Kanan. He's -750 in that fight. I was there live, and Song Kanan drops this guy bad, almost finishes Ian Gary. It was super close. Ian Gary survives and knocks Song Kanan out in the third round, but still, getting dropped by Song Kanan, that's inexcusable. It really is. So yeah, Ian Gary's a phenomenal fighter, but his chin's up in the air. His striking defense is not great. He has that tall man striking defense, and he's taken on Jeff Neal, who nicknamed Hands of Steel, and that nickname is well deserved. This guy hits like an absolute truck. Nobody, and I mean nobody, knocks out Vicente Luque. And Jeff Neal went in there and did just that. It was a brutal, brutal knockout win for Jeff Neal. Looked career best there. And the thing with Jeff Neal is, this is a guy that's been up and down in his UFC career. He started out in the UFC, I think, 6 or 7-0, with the majority of those fights being finishes, right? And then there was this stretch where, he looked awful against Stephen Thompson in 5 rounds. He looked awful against Neil Magny in 3 rounds. He looked awful against Ponzinibbio. Even he won that fight, but looked awful in that fight. But there was a stretch where I think, Jeff Neal was dealing with like some serious health issues. I'm not sure what it was, but he was dealing with some stuff outside the cage as well. A lot of distractions, it seemed like, for Jeff Neal. So yeah, he was dealing with those health issues, other things going on. But since then, that Luque fight, he looked really good. And quite frankly, that Shavkat fight, he was having some moments there. Jeff Neal was landing big shots on Shavkat. Whereas, I feel like if it was any other fighter other than Shavkat, he probably knocks that guy out. He was landing hard on Shavkat Rakhmonov. The takedown defense held up there. So, yeah, it's a fight where Gary's probably winning a lot of the minutes here, but I think the moments are going to be coming from Jeff Neal. I think Jeff Neal's live to potentially hurt Ian Gary as well. If Ian Gary has not shored up that striking defense, and I'm not sure he has. So, it's probably Gary by decision, but I'm actually going to take Jeff Neal here as a dog. I'm going to take Jeff Neal to land a big shot and knock out Ian Gary here. I'll say he knocks him out in the second round. As long as everything's going good with Neal, no distractions, health is fine. I think he walks this guy down and lands a big shot and knocks him out. It's going to be Jeff Neal to win this fight by second round knockout. All right, moving on, we got the co-main event. Robert Whitaker going against Paulo Costa. Was thinking about not breaking this down because I'm not convinced Paulo Costa shows up, but if he does, this should be a fun fight. We'll talk about it anyway. We got Robert Whitaker, 33 years old, 6 foot with a 73.5-inch reach, 24-7 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Paulo Costa, he is 32 years old, 6'1" with a 72-inch reach, 14-2 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Robert Whitaker is the favorite. He opened up minus 300, currently minus 220. Paulo Costa opened up plus 250, currently plus 185. And yeah, it's one of those fights where Robert Whitaker is the much better fighter. I've never really been that high on Paulo Costa. It seems like Paulo Costa has so many distractions outside the cage. It doesn't even seem like he wants to fight anymore. He's fought twice in the last 5 years. And it was that Marvin Vettori loss where it was scheduled for middleweight, and he literally says he's not making weight, and then Vettori's like, okay, let's do a catch weight, and then Paulo Costa's like, no, and then he's like, okay, we'll do it at light heavyweight. They ended up doing it at light heavyweight, and to Costa's credit, he looked a lot better than I thought he would, but still, that was incredible. And then he fought Luke Rockhold, took Luke Rockhold to a decision, just a disgusting fight where both guys were gassed out towards the end, beat Luke Rockhold, but you got to knock that guy out. Luke Rockhold was coming back after a massive layoff. Luke Rockhold had been knocked out 6 times. How didn't he knock out Luke Rockhold? It made no sense to me. And so, yeah, I feel like this guy just doesn't want to fight. He's pulled out of so many fights. There's been times where, they're promoting him to fight somebody, and he's like, he didn't even sign the contract. I'm surprised he's still on the roster, to be honest. A lot of shenanigans from this guy. So, yeah, Paulo Costa looked great early in his career, came out there and was knocking guys out left and right, but just seems like he's uninterested at this point. So, yeah, Robert Whitaker, I think, is the more hungry fighter. He's not much older. He's 33, Costa's 32, and he's the much better fighter, in my opinion. The one thing with Robert Whitaker is the chin, is the durability. Paulo Costa is super tough, next level durable, outside of that weird fight with Adesanya. But Paulo Costa typically just next level durable. Robert Whitaker, not so much. Robert Whitaker's been hurt. He's been knocked out a lot, so maybe Paulo Costa does knock out Whitaker here. It's just if you're not knocking out Luke Rockhold, I don't know if you're knocking out anybody at this point. So give me Robert Whitaker. Robert Whitaker by decision. This fight doesn't happen probably. Costa probably pulls out or something happens, because that just seems to be what goes on with Paulo Costa fights nowadays. But if this fight does happen, give me Robert Whitaker by decision. All right, guys, next we have the main event. Don't forget to comment down those significant strikes. I did do a main event deep dive on my channel. Go check that out. Went a little bit more in depth here. But we got Alexander Volkanovski going against Ilia Topuria. We got Volkanovski, 35 years old, 5'6", with a 71.5-inch reach, 26-3 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Topuria, 27 years old, 5'7", with a 69-inch reach, 14-0 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. So I want to talk about these odds. These odds seem kind of crazy to me, and I'm a huge Topuria guy. I've backed him in every single fight, from when he was an underdog to the Yusuf Zalal, to up to the Josh Emmett fight, and he's a great fighter. This is a super tough guy, proved that he can go 5 rounds, good wrestling, incredible grappling, BJJ black belt, a ton of power on the feet. The striking looked really good against Josh Emmett. It's just, what's he proven, right? Like, what has Topuria proven? And the answer to that is not a ton. You look at his first 4 wins, they mean nothing to me. Beating Yusuf Zalal, who's now cut, that means nothing to me. I know people like Damon Jackson for some reason. That win means nothing to me. Ryan Hall, come on. Jai Herbert, I know some people like Jai Herbert, but come on. The Bryce Mitchell win was good. That was his first win where it's like, okay, that's a legit win. And then Josh Emmett, yeah, that's a legit win. It's just, Josh Emmett, 39 years old, stylistic nightmare matchup for him. Josh Emmett is a guy that's low volume, getting up there in age, doesn't have the best cardio, the best durability, and yeah, Topuria beats him, but I would have liked to see Topuria fight like a Yair Rodriguez. I would like to see Topuria fight a Movsar Evloev like they were supposed to fight. I would like to see that fight. I would have liked to see him fight, like a Brian Ortega, one of those guys. But he's kind of, or Max Holloway. Max Holloway would have been a perfect fight to see like where Topuria's at, because right now I don't know. There's a massive, massive step up in competition from Bryce Mitchell and Josh Emmett, who I like personally, to Alexander Volkanovski, who's beaten Jose Aldo, who's beaten Max Holloway 3 different times. 2 of those times just dominated him. The third time, almost knocked out Max Holloway. I had the over in that fight. I thought he was going to knock him out. Like, he beat the brakes off of Max Holloway. So, although I think Topuria is awesome, he's going against Volkanovski, who is, he's just proven to just be on another level than any other featherweight in the world, and it's really not even that close. So, I think if Topuria wins this fight, it's a major upset, and the line is not reflecting it. If he beats Alexander Volkanovski, in my head, that is a major, major upset. And there's a big narrative going around, and I think that's, affecting the line. The narrative is Volkanovski's a drunk. He talked about, drinking every day up until the Islam fight that he took on 10 days' notice. The other narrative is he's old, and there's the whole 35 and up curse between flyweight and welterweight. There's that going on, but, this line just doesn't make a ton of sense to me. I'm going Alexander Volkanovski. If Topuria can pull off the upset, then that'd be great. That'd be an incredible win, but he just hasn't proven to me yet that he's on this level. Maybe he is. We'll find out, but he hasn't proven it to me yet. Give me Alexander Volkanovski to win this fight and win it by decision. There you guys go. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to leave a like on your way out, subscribe to the channel, comment down those significant strikes that you think are going to combine between these two in the main event. Check out Prize Picks. Use promo code DFSBTN. Get yourself a 100% deposit match up to $100. And then lastly, check out DFSbythenumbers.com. I'll be getting content out throughout the week. The stats are posted. Going to be working on my full card breakdown and best bet article today and tomorrow. Get my best bets out there. And I'll be adding some bets later in the week as well. So check that out. Best of luck, guys, and enjoy UFC 298. Should be a very fun card. See you later.